Okay, so for the wash and line, I decided to do something different. So I decided to try to do a flower, and I drew it in pencil first. I didn't want to make the videos too long, so I just um, did that before I made the videos. And now I'm going to try to put in some areas of wash, and then I'm going to let it dry. So I'm just looking for areas of light and dark. For this, you have to be more, you can't correct as much as you can with the charcoal, right? So you can't make dark areas lighter with the line, with just the pen and line. So you have to be a little bit more careful when you are starting. I'm trying to use the bleeding here. It's like, but I may have just gone too far. So maybe I won't use the bleeding. So there's areas of light and dark. So I'm blotting with the paper towel, trying to lighten that up. So the bleeding is hard to control. And especially on something like this, that's very delicate. I mean, you can try it, but it might mess it up. So I'm just looking for areas of light and dark. So it's darker on the edge and it gets lighter in the middle. I'm trying not to make a mess. Okay, so I got kind of dark on the edges and lighter, and I'm going to go darker for the edges. Hopefully it doesn't get really messy. I'm going to go in, it's pretty dark, so I'm going to go in with some black ink. I tried to water it down a little bit. And my paper towel, because I want it to kind of blend. You can also use a Q-tip. Okay, I'm going to blot it. So I'm trying to make it dark, but I don't want it to look like a line. Like that one looks just like a line, right? But that's not blended. It already dried before I blotted it, so that makes it harder to mix. But I'm just putting some water on the brush and trying to blend the dark into the lighter area. That was too much. I got too much on there. And I'm going to put some water on the brush and try to make that look less like a line, right? Because that looks too There's some correcting that you can do with the pen and line, but the value kind of have to have down. So I'm going to go down here and also put the dark on the bottom because these little things that are hanging over the petals are going to be light. So to make them stand out, you want them to be surrounded by dark. Okay. Now, that's not perfect. That may need adjusting, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. So I'm going to go down to this thing right here. And I'm just going to start by blocking in a value, and then I'm going to make some of the areas darker. Okay. So now I'm going to get, since it's still wet, I'm going to get my dark. It might bleed. So, I mean, I'm just ready for any, but I want it to blend. And so that's why I'm kind of trying to let it bleed into the wet. So you're either using wet on wet or wet on dry. And you're going to have to experiment a lot to see what you like and which one works for you, or what you can get out of each one. I'm getting my paper towel. Okay, and then now I'm going to the stem. And I made that too dark. Let's see if I can blot some of it up with the paper towel. I want it to be lighter than that. Well, again, I feel like I'm getting too dark on this already. There's certain areas, right? Okay, so now I'm going to go here to this little area, and I'm trying to put in kind of a light value. I don't know if I'm going to do wet on wet anymore because these areas are so small. If they were bigger, I would try, but I'm probably going to let them dry. And I want something really light for this. Yeah, there we go. So I'm blocking in areas of value, and then I'm going to correct them. I'm going to go here. Okay, and then here, I'm just getting some values on here, and then I'm going to adjust. Whoops. Here. There's still some, I mean, I feel like there's still some pencil marks underneath that maybe I could have erased a little bit more, but I just decided to start. Okay. I'm just getting kind of light values on everything, and then I'm going to go in and correct. There's no, like, there's not really whites on it, so there's kind of a light value is the lightest color, so I'm putting that in as a base. I don't know, like I may, so remember how I said you could do wash, then line, then wash again? So you remember, keep that in mind, especially for the wash and line, not so much for the wash and charcoal. That got a little too dark. Again, paper towel. Okay, now this is getting a little messy over there. I'm looking here at this part. And I want to go in here with a light value. Okay, so that's a starting point, right? And then I'm going to go in with some dark. So this little thing is darker. It's like an outer part of a petal that's flipping over that's darker. And I'm actually going to change this line. So I'm always changing, like I'm changing that pencil line in the outline of part of the petal. You're always making changes. You're always moving stuff around. I'm going to go back in here with a darker dark on this outline. And then I'm going to get some water on the brush because I don't want that to look like a line, right? I want it to blend. And then I'm going to blot. And come back down here with the dark. Use the paper towel to blot again. Okay, so it's very time consuming. I'm gonna do same thing here. So it's dark right here. This whole thing is kind of a little bit darker. So I'm starting out with a little bit of a darker value. And then I'm looking in here. I need to let that dry. So that's why I'm moving around. So right here it's dark. Okay. It needs more work, but I want to make kind of a lighter value, and I want to leave this part really light right here. So I'm getting the paper towel. And blotting. Then I'm looking at this, and I'm going to go a little bit darker, maybe a little bit darker than that on the bottom. Maybe I should have waited because that's wet and this is wet. So I probably should have waited for it to dry so I didn't have two wet areas next to each other. If you want to be like a really careful about areas bleeding. I'm blotting with the paper towel. And then I'm looking at this thing in here. It's pretty dark. And it needs to be darker than that, but it also needs to dry. So I'm going to come up here. I'm just darkening this as a whole. That's too much. I'm too close to areas of wet, so that's why I moved away from that. This inner part of the leaf where it's folding is dark. So I'm putting in the dark. This area, this little area is darker. So again, this is very time consuming. And then the line will also be time consuming. And I haven't even started looking at the background or the stems. I'm just trying to get the flower. First. All right. That needs to dry. So everything, it's like everything you do it and then you let the area dry. You do it and then you let the area dry. I'm going to go in here with a kind of a darker value. So you're looking for the same thing, the lights, the mediums, and darks as you would in a regular value drawing. And then I'm going to come around here. And just darken this a little bit. And trying to blend it in. So with some water and the paper towel. And that doesn't look that great. So I'm going to take a look at this petal. I'm just moving around. I'm trying to kind of go fast. I should actually probably be spending more time on each part, but I'm trying to do it as quick as I can. Okay, that I'm just kind of letting the flower dry for a minute. Now, it needs a lot more work. I'm going to take a look at the leaves, which are as a whole a lot lighter than parts of the flower. So I'm going to use a light wash for different parts of the leaves. So here, and there's some areas of the leaves that are actually left white. Remember that I do, like, since this is, I'm going to come into this rose with the pen later, I can still add areas of wash after I come in with the pen. And maybe I'll do that on this one just so you can see an example of that, right? So you can go wash, line, and then wash again, and then line again if you want. Or you can go line and wash. right? So I'm still at a very like beginning phase of this. Oops, that got a little too dark. So I'm getting the paper towel and blotting it. So this is something that takes a lot of practice. Practice, practice, practice. And it takes time, as you see. Like I would give each one of these drawings about a couple hours to work on. And I'm gonna get the paper towel because I feel like that got a little too dark. This is a general, I mean, it's not detail. I'm just generalizing, looking for areas that are darker and lighter and kind of blocking those in. Okay, so that's just a start for that. Actually, I wanted to look at this and I'm looking for areas that are darker. That needs the let me blot it with the paper towel. It's probably too late. That doesn't look right. That needs work. Okay, so I'm going to work with some darks right now because there's a lot of dark, really dark areas, especially on the edges. And that's pure black. That may have been a little too dark for that. And again, you have to be really kind of precise and careful when you're doing this because one slip of your hand and then you've messed up the whole thing, right? And that looks too extreme, right? So I'm going to get some water and I'm going to go around it and try to let it kind of bleed into it and then get the paper towel. You can also use a Q-tip and try. This is a form of blending if you're having trouble blending with the brush. I'm getting some more water. Okay. And then I'm going to, I don't want to go like wet, like near a wet area. So I'm trying to move my way around. So I'm just, not getting wet into wet. And I'm going to come over here. And I want to go a little bit darker than that on the edges. So I'm going to dip the brush straight into the black ink. That's how you get your real dark. I almost never do that because it gets very dark. But if you want something very dark, you just dip the brush into the ink. All right. I'm going to blot. Okay. So now I'm going to look at this little tiny thing. This is a dark as well. And it gets lighter, but I'm probably going to mess it up and make the whole thing dark. And blot. Be careful when you're blotting because like it can bleed, like the water on the what you're blotting with can get into other areas of the drawing. I'm just getting some black on the brush. See how much darker that is than my darkest area. Okay. And then I'm going to go here, but I want it to blend again. So I'm getting some water on the brush and going right next to it. And then I'm going to get the paper towel and try to absorb some of it so it doesn't look like a big black area. It looks like it's blending into the lighter area. See how it just got that right there, which I wanted to leave white? That's what I meant, that the paper towel can also kind of make like it can have droplets on it that get into other areas, and then you've messed up, like I messed that area up. Okay, so I'm going to go darker right here. It's not the black, it's just a dark value, a dark wash value. Okay, I want to get now some black over in this area. And it needs to be darker down here. I'm just checking for the time because the videos, I don't like to make them longer than about 40 minutes because then they have trouble. And around here, then I'm going to mix with some water and use the paper towel. So the paper towel might not be a good idea in really delicate areas because you can really mess up areas of detail. But for areas where it's really broad and like there's open space, then yeah, I think it's a great idea. Okay, so it's going to be darker right here. So when you put a dark next to a light, the light area stands out. This could use a lot more refining. And I need to put water next to it and blot. Okay, so it still needs a lot of work. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to actually put some black on here where this leaf is, or this petal is folding. And I'm blotting and I'm coming over here. Now see, that got messed up right there. That was from the paper towel. I'm going to put some water, but I want it to be kind of darker on the outside and lighter on the inside, but I don't want it to look like a line like it does now. But I messed it up. So this has shading on it as well, but it's lighter in value. And here, These have shading on them as well, but they're light in value. I need the paper towel. And that looks horrible. I feel that I'm going too fast because I'm just trying to rush, like showing it to you. That is way too dark. Whereas like where I'm trying to say like, oh, this needs a dark, this needs a dark. It's like if I had all the time in the world, I would just be really taking my time with this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna stop this video. It needs more wash, but I'm gonna come in with the pen and I'm gonna do some line work and then I'm gonna let it dry for at least half an hour. Then I'm gonna make another video just with the pen. And then once I get the pen in, I'm gonna come back in and refine areas of the wash to really like make it pop out even more. And that's gonna be some detail work that probably takes a bit of time. One second. Okay, I'm gonna come into this and try to finish it up and try to put something in the background. So I'm going to get my brush. And actually, since this, I want to put a background on and then I might put more wash on the flower. But since the bottom part is light, I'm going to put black in this area. And I might lighten it up as I move up. But I think these will stand out if the bottom is dark. So I'm putting in a dark wash. On the bottom. Just letting the paper absorb. You can do many more things with this, like putting white dots, but before I get into all that, I want to just get basic skills down. So I'm putting this in. And it's really wet. So I'm going to want to let that dry. But that's kind of, helping the bottom part stand out. And then I'm turning it around. Okay. Because I'm going to work on this area. But I'm going to keep this part really dark. So I'm going to just finish putting this in right here. Okay. Do I want to do the whole thing? I'm thinking to myself. So, like, do I want to lighten it up as I move up? I'm still going to put some black around here. Or do I want to do it all really dark? That's my question for right now. Okay. And then let me see how it looks if I lighten it up. I think the black actually looks kind of nice. I'm kind of lightening it, but keeping it kind of dark. It's not going to be this dark. It's going to be lighter. But I do like the way that the black looks. So I'm lightening it up as I wash upwards. There's still a lot of black on the brush. Oh, that's not. Yeah, I do. Okay. I'm going to go black right around it. And then possibly let the wash lighten it up. I do like the black. I'm going to try to go a little bit lighter up here. Just for some variety. And then I'm going to come back in with the black and let it bleed into that lighter color. That's the nice part of wet on wet. You can get some really nice bleeding if you're working with an open area. And you know what? This is so wet that I'm going to leave it. And let it dry. And then I may come in and wash some areas of the flower. Whoops. I'm just getting rid of these little tiny white pieces of paper. All right. So this is going to dry for another half an hour to an hour. Okay, so I was going to add more wash to this, but I don't think that's a great idea, but I am going to add a little bit more line work. I really like the way this bled up here. So I'm using the thinner, I'm just getting the ink off of it, the thinner pen to kind of enhance some of the line. This is totally dry, but I just didn't like the line work in one direction. I think the lines are too big. So I'm using the thinner pen. And I'm not going to add that much, but I just want to enhance some of the line work. And I think this looks a lot better with the thinner lines. Okay. I'm just doing a little bit of, extra work to kind of enhance this. And I like that. I think that looks a lot better than those big fat lines. I'm using cross hatching, but I'm trying to let some of the value show through underneath. All right. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So I just really messed that up. You know what? I'm just going to leave it like that, because if I try to blot it with the paper towel, it's going to spread. So that's what happens when you're drawing with ink. It's just a part of it. Okay. That's just going to be like a part of the, I guess, artistic creation. You got to work with the mistakes or the accidents that happen. I don't know if I'm making this better. I just thought I wanted to make a little bit of a change to it. I thought these lines were too large. You can also, like, say you're doing something like this. You can also use lines like in a cross contour way. Like, so if you wanted to do here, like a couple of lines that did that, like that could, like I'm using lines to enhance the shading, right? But you can also do them in that value, and you could also combine, although I don't usually combine. So let's combine a little bit here. Right. I usually just use the lines in like either cross contour or value, but here I'm combining just because I want to do a demo for you. And I kind of like those. I think those really actually enhance it quite a bit. They give us the direction that these outer petals are going in. You can do as many or as few as you like. And again, whenever you're doing this, I mean, you're seeing how you might mess up your drawing. I'm going to put in lines right here. I'm going to put that one right there, and I'm going to put one in here. Okay, and I'm going to put a little bit more of the cross contour here. And I don't know, I mean, it kind of looks a little bit weird with both the cross contour and the shading lines, but it's actually for a demonstration. So, I mean, my recommendation to you would be to pick one or the other, right? I mean, probably not both. I think that can be a little too busy, but if you like it, go for it. And I'm going to go right here. And that's kind of added variety to it. I'm going to come back in here and put some more vertical lines right here to kind of take the attention away from those fat lines. I'm looking at it. I'm sorry I stopped. I'm taking a look at it and I'm thinking to myself, do I need to add anything else or should I just leave it alone? Basically, is what I'm thinking, because you can just really go too far. Whoops, I got a big fat blob of ink right there. Um, so that's a real big challenge with your drawing is like you want to like add to it to make it look better, but you want to also know when you should stop. I'm probably going to put a few here because you can really take it too far. Yeah, I do like the effect of having both, but I probably like if I was doing a completed drawing, I probably wouldn't have both the cross contour and the hatching. I would probably choose one. I think it looks actually kind of okay here, although I think some of the black crossing lines that I put in are a little excessive. Okay, I'm gonna stop it here.